Waking up to a new reality is far more than adopting pretty phrases or repeating affirmations. The true awakening of consciousness is brutal, uncomfortable, and at the same time, liberating. It's realizing that everything you experience today, absolutely everything, is a reflection of your internal state. There are no exceptions. There are no victims. There are no coincidences. The world around you is a faithful mirror of your mind. Awakening begins when this harsh, non-negotiable truth finally sinks in. That's when the illusion that things are out of your control starts to crumble. And yes, it hurts. Because you'll look at every area of your life, relationships, finances, health, purpose, and realize that you were the sole creator of it all. Not because you wanted to, but because you were unconscious. Because you repeated patterns, vibrated scarcity, felt fear, fed guilt. Because you imagined the worst and felt it as if it were real, and the universe responded. It always does. Reality doesn't judge, it simply reflects. This is when you understand that the mind is the real battlefield. Everything happens there before it becomes matter. Before any event there is a thought. Before any fact there is a vibration. And that vibration is your responsibility. The problem is that most people live in a cycle of repetition. They wake up, think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, react the same way, and then act surprised when life stays the same. Of course, it stays the same. You keep handing the universe the same script, and it obediently performs. Not because it wants to punish you, but because that's the law. Consciousness is the invisible creator of everything that exists. Ignoring that is like denying gravity. It will act the same way regardless. Awakening isn't about choosing to believe in this. It's about recognizing that it's already happening and taking responsibility for what you're broadcasting. Here comes the crucial point. There's no point in trying to change your life if you don't change your state of consciousness. Changing the outside without changing the inside is like painting the walls of a house with a leak. It might look good for a few days, but soon the dirt returns. Awakening requires you to look at the roots. What thoughts do you repeat every day? What images do you feed? What kind of inner dialogue do you maintain? Do you see yourself as a failure, as unlucky, as someone unworthy of love? All of that is instruction you're giving your reality, and it's obeying. Changing this takes discipline. It's not about thinking positively for 5 minutes. It's about creating a new state of being, a new identity, a new consciousness, because it's your identity that determines what you experience. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you believe you are. Now understand this. It's not about pretending. It's not about sending it to the universe and continuing to feel small inside. There's no point in wishing for abundance if you vibrate scarcity. There's no point in wanting love if you feel unworthy. Consciousness can't be fooled. It vibrates exactly what you are, not what you say. And that's powerful because it means you can change everything. But it has to start from within. To imagine is to create. When you imagine with clarity, with feeling, with firm and constant intention, you are planting invisible seeds that will sooner or later bloom. But if the next minute you doubt, cancel, fear, or question, you rip the seed out yourself. And then you say, "This doesn't work." It does work. You just haven't sustained it long enough, and it's not about believing. It's about living as if it already is. It's feeling before seeing. It's internalizing the new state until it becomes so natural that reality has no choice but to adjust. That's the real secret. It's not about wishing, it's about assuming. Assume you already are. Assume you already have. Assume you already live it. Even when everything around you says the opposite. That's when the test comes. The world will keep trying to pull you back to the old. People, news, situations will try to prove you wrong, that it's all nonsense. But if you hold your consciousness firm, if you don't negotiate your new state with the old reality, reality bends, it changes, it reshapes itself. Because matter obeys mind. It's always been that way, and the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You start to notice the signs, coincidences, opportunities, encounters, solutions. Everything begins to align. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Because your internal frequency started broadcasting a different message, and now you're receiving a new response. This is math, not magic. It's cause and effect. And if you truly understand that, you stop wasting time on complaints, criticism, or drama. You begin to protect your mind like a sacred temple. Because it is, you begin to choose your thoughts like someone selecting seeds for a holy garden. Because you know you'll harvest. Inevitably. And that's true empowerment. Not shouting motivational phrases, but taking control of your own consciousness and shaping reality from it. So for those who truly want to awaken, the first step is to get out of autopilot. It's observing everything you think, feel, and react to. It's identifying the triggers. It's stopping the blame on the external. Because as long as you keep pointing fingers, you'll remain a slave to circumstances. But when you bring the responsibility inward, everything changes. You begin to become conscious of what was once instinctive. And at that point, you stop being a character in life and become the scriptwriter. Yes, life will still test you. There will be falls, doubts, resistance. But now you know, all of this is part of the reprogramming process. And you don't retreat. Because someone who truly awakens doesn't go back to sleep. You might stumble, but you'll never forget who you are again. You'll never forget your power. And here's the final truth. It won't be fast. It won't be easy. It will require consistency, repetition, and patience. But it will happen. And when it happens, everything changes. You'll look back and realize that everything you lived, every pain, every frustration, every repeated cycle was life's push for you to awaken. And you did. Because now you know reality is a reflection, and consciousness is the mirror. The image you hold within is what the world reflects outside. Change the image, and the mirror responds. Now that you understand the depth and responsibility that come with this awakening, it's time to talk about consistency, because that's where most people fail. It's not due to lack of knowledge or technique. It's because they don't sustain the new state. The human mind has been trained since childhood to look for external evidence before believing. I'll only feel prosperous when the money comes. I'll only feel loved when someone chooses me. But that's walking backwards. The awakening of consciousness demands you reverse the order. Feel before you see. Act as if you already are, even when everything says you're not. This isn't self-deception, it's reprogramming. You are re-educating your mind, and it will resist, it will scream, it will sabotage, because it's been shaped by years of negative repetition. You've spent decades believing you were small, limited, unlucky. That doesn't change in a week. But it does change. If you are consistent, if you decide every day to imagine, affirm, and feel a new state, the change happens. It's inevitable. The reality you're living today is not a punishment, it's a delayed reflection. It's the result of a past consciousness. You're looking at what you were, not what you are now. That's why patience is crucial. The universe doesn't respond to anxiety. It responds to certainty. And certainty is built in the silence of repetition. While the world gives you no's, you hold the yes inside. While nothing changes outside, everything changes. Inside, you're forming invisible roots. You're shaping the vibrational field. You're altering the frequency of what you emit. And the universe, quietly, begins to organize itself in response. The right people start to appear. Unexpected opportunities show up. Doors open where there were once walls. But this only happens when you hold the new state with conviction and continuity. That's what separates those who awaken from those who just experiment. And this awakening is lonely. Because while you're rebuilding your identity, many around you are still asleep. They'll laugh, they'll doubt, they'll call you delusional. Because marking is easier than changing. Most people prefer complaining about life over taking responsibility for creating a new one. But you're not here to live like most. You're here to create, to transform, to manifest. The world needs awakened consciousness. It needs people who know in practice that they are co-creators of reality. And that's your role. Not to impose, not to convince, but to be. Be the living proof that it's possible. Be the silent example that inspires without needing words. When you live in an awakened state, your life becomes an invitation for others to do the same. And that's how the world changes, from the inside out, one by one. And finally, understand this. Awakening has no end. It's a continuous process, a path of constant expansion. With each new level of consciousness, you realize there's still more layers, more depth, more power. What seems impossible today will feel natural tomorrow. What demands effort today will become instinct, because your mind is constantly evolving, and every new achievement, every new manifestation will be a direct result of the consciousness you've cultivated. That's why you must care for your inner world like a rare garden. Be mindful of the thoughts you allow in. Be mindful of the words you repeat. Be mindful of the emotions you feed. All of this is shaping your tomorrow. You're not reacting to life, you're creating life. And that's everything. So if you've made it this far, if something inside you resonates with this truth, know this. It's already begun. Awakening is not an event, it's a decision, and you've already made that decision. Now walk, continue, practice, fail, adjust, return, but don't stop, because each conscious step is worth 1,000 unconscious ones. And with each new day, you'll realize the power was always there, inside, waiting to be claimed. And now, finally, it has been. Because when consciousness awakens, the entire world awakens with it.